Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to export your entire database into a file so that it can be easily shared with your team members. This is also a great way to keep a backup of your database before you delete your tables or make any changes to it. So to get started, I'm going to assume that you have a set of tables in your database now and you want to create a backup of it. To export these tables into a file, go to the File menu, click on Export, and you should be in the SQL tab in this dialog box. Now, what this particular tab allows you to do is it allows you to create a set of commands that when run will recreate your entire database along with its content. Now there are many options in this dialog box to look at. First, on the left hand side you have the list of tables, but to its right you have three columns, S, C and D. They stand for whether you are asking SQL Pro to create a export file that will recreate the structure of the database, that is table definitions of the database. The second column essentially gives you a set of options where you can recreate the content that exists in each of these tables. The third one, which is the D column, essentially it generates a set of commands that will drop a table before recreating when you import this data back into a table. Now, for most of the standard export purposes, these three columns could be left checked. Now, the other thing to notice here is the path here specifies where the exported file will be created. Uh, just under that, you can of course change this to a suitable folder on your computer. Just under that, you can see the file name that will be created when you export this database into a file. This is the file that will contain the exported database. Okay, so you don't need to change any of these options. You can leave the defaults as they are and then click on the export option. Okay, so when you switch to the directory that you earlier saw, you'll see that it will have a new file now just created that contains the entire content of the database. Now to verify that, you can open it using any text editor. I'm going to open it using Vim and take a look at the content inside. You'll see that it's a SQL file that starts by dropping a table, dropping the table project if it exists, then it creates the table project, and after that it adds data into the table. Now think of the purpose of this SQL file. When this file is run, it should recreate the database that you had earlier. So to do that, it's first going to drop the table if they existed before. It's going to create a new table with this definition, and then it's going to add data into the table. You can see similar definitions for all four tables that existed in your database. Okay, now that you have created the database, how do you import it? Let's say you send it to one of your team members. How will she import this into her database? To see how to import this, it's somewhat similar to importing a CSV file, but it's more error proof in that there are very few options to play with, and it will just recreate the entire database almost automatically. To see how to import this, let's go back to the SQL Pro window, and let's assume that you didn't have any tables before. So we're going to delete all the tables. Now this option essentially forces deleting irrespective of any foreign key constraint that may be present among these tables. So check that and click delete. Now you have this empty database and you want to recreate the other database, the previous database, using the exported file. To do that, go to File menu, click Import, and then select the database file. Browse to the place where the database file was and then select the SQL file that was exported before. Click open and the entire database is created. Okay, so this is a simple way to take a backup of your existing database, share it, and when you need to get back to a state of the database that existed before, you can import from the file that you exported before. Hope that helps. Thanks.